Hey folks, I'm Alex Dowd.
And I'm Katie Rife.
Today we're talking about the new movie from the Safdie brothers, Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler.
Welcome to Film Club.
I feel like at this point, the question of whether or not Adam Sandler can act is sort of settled. Mm-hmm. We all have seen him act pretty well in films.
Yes. I'm a fan of Adam Sandler's dramatic turns. Always excited to
He's very good. He's very good when he shows up,
yep.
You know?
Yes.
I think he's definitely an actor who delineates between these are the projects where I give a shit and these are my paid vacations, you know?
He has literally called them paid vacations. Yeah. You're not being unfair to him when you say that.
I kind of admire the honesty a little bit. It's a little insulting to us, but I do sort of admire the honesty. But I think what's interesting about Sandler's career as a dramatic actor is that it's not like he's ever really cast against type.
How do you mean?
So what I mean is that usually when Sandler is in something good, when he's playing a character in Punch Drunk Love, when he's in Judd Apatow's Funny People, in the Noah Baumbach film, The Meyerowitz Stories.
Yes, he was great in that.
Yeah, he's very good in all those films. Yeah. But the thing is that he's not playing characters who couldn't be in an Adam Sandler movie, in a Happy Madison production.
Like twitchy, sweaty man-children?
Temper problems, occasional emotional outbursts, sometimes stunted.
True.
You know, they always feel like characters who could headline a Happy Madison production. It's just that the movie around them is good.
Perhaps, I mean, maybe phrase it a different way. More thought is put into the movie around him.
Right. And Sandler is giving us notes that he wouldn't necessarily give in Big Daddy or something.
Right.
You know? He's going a little deeper into these characters, but the characters as they stand, I think, could be Adam Sandler characters in an Adam Sandler comedy.
I mean, Uncut Gems, the movie we're talking about today, in its opening scene, he holds up a gold and diamond necklace of a Furby,
right.
Which could be a joke in a Happy Madison production, right?
It could be.
Yeah.
And I think that his character's energy is not unlike something he might bring to a comedy. He's playing Howard. He's a jeweler in New York and kind of a wheeler and dealer.
Yeah, a lot of money seems to be going in and out of his office every day.
Yeah, he's got this little store that he runs, and it's sort of his home base for various schemes and operations that are going on throughout the city. As the film opens, he's made this big score. He's got his hands on this African opal, basically, that he thinks could be worth $1 million. And that proves the catalyst for the plot, which basically is about, he sort of ropes in Kevin Garnett, the professional basketball player, into his schemes, and the film becomes about this, sort of this network of wheeling and dealing that he's running, sort of around his store and around that opal, and a few days of him sort of running around trying to keep all the balls in the air.
Yeah, and you know, beyond his personal life, you do get the impression that Howard is a bit of a fly-by-night kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like there's a supporting character, Lakeith Stanfield. He kind of is the fixer who brings all these different sort of like sports and entertainment guys into the store and gets a cut of whatever they buy. It's very fly-by-night operation. But his big problem in this movie is his gambling problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a portrait of somebody who has an addiction to gambling, although I would say it's, in a much larger sense, it's a portrait of somebody who has an addiction to chaos.
Yes, 100%. All throughout the movie, the thing I was really struck by is that the whole time Howard's just like, why are you making my life difficult? Just everyone is making things difficult for him all the time. But he is the one who made it difficult in the first place with these short-sighted, impulsive decisions that he makes constantly. And he must like, on some level, being at the center of all this chaos because he just keeps perpetuating it over and over again. If he had just stopped at some point during this movie and, I don't know, taken a nap, gone to the sauna for an afternoon or something, things would have sorted themselves out, but he keeps escalating and escalating and escalating.
The movie takes him to the edge of self-awareness and then pulls him back from it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's definitely a movie about somebody who has created so many problems in his life that he's almost being forced into a reckoning.
Yep.
Will he change his ways or not is sort of the question of the film. I found this movie enormously stressful.
Yes, it definitely, the Safdies always, their stuff's always very kinetic and breakneck. Good time in their last film film, which I also liked a lot, is another movie where you're just running the whole time. But this one has a uniquely stressful, I don't know if they're just amping up their filmmaking technique.
I mean, the movie is often shot in really tight close-up. We're following Howard around behind his back, just sort of the camera trailing around him.
Yeah.
The performances, I think a lot of them are pitched to this level of constant antagonism, Everybody's always yelling.
Yes.
The music is blaring and overpowering at times,
I was going to say the sound of the film is very stressful.
Yeah.
Between the yelling and the music and like you were saying, the camera constantly moving. If you I won't say that it's not an enjoyable watch.
No, I think it's
enjoyed
exhilarating
watching it.
and funny.
Yeah, even though it's so stressful.
It's like a panic attack, I mean,
Yeah.
they should hand out Xanax with this movie,
They really
honestly.
should.
I'm impressed by the degree to which the Safdies sustain that for 2.5 hours.
Yes, because and it doesn't feel that long.
Right.
It doesn't feel like a slog, even though yes, it just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. Yeah.
Totally. So as you mentioned, this is their follow-up to Good Time. Josh and Benny Safdie, they've been making movies in New York their whole career. They started out making like micro-budget films.
Tiny. They have one that we were actually discussing before we started taping. It's called Daddy Longlegs. It's on Criterion Channel if you have that, if you want to check out their earlier work.
And all their films are set in New York, essentially. They just have been kind of increasing in budget, but I'm impressed with the degree to which, the scale of their movies has increased and the level of the talent they work with has increased.
It hasn't. You know what I mean? I mean, like you said, there's still a lot of close-ups in this film, a lot of contained spaces. There aren't a ton of like huge crowd scenes or anything like that. It's still a very focused story.
Yeah,
on
but
this
the
one
budget
guy.
of these films has increased a lot.
Sure.
And they're working with, in this film, they're working with Eric Bogosian is in it, as you mentioned, Lakeith Stanfield. They're working with bigger actors than they worked earlier in their career.
Fair.
But as as the budgets and the production of their films has gotten larger, they've sort of preserved this sort of grubby, gritty New York spirit of their work.
Yeah,
they're still like fragrantly independent filmmakers.
Yeah, like I would call them. I mean, they're almost. It's such, I hear the term dirtbag cinema applied to the Safdies a lot, and I would agree with that, but there's almost something grindhousey about how grimy it is.
What I think watching their films is that it's sort of a New York that we don't always see in movies anymore.
Yes.
This film is set in 2012. It ends
Yes.
up sort of revolving around the very real NBA Finals.
It's some
around that
very
time.
funny stuff. The
Yeah.
period stuff, I really liked the way they did the period. Normally you have a newscast on in the background or something like that, and that's how you set the year. But they do it with some really funny little details that are worked into the plot. Like The Weeknd playing himself has a small part in this movie, which is, very of that particular moment.
But though the film is set in 2012, it feels like we're looking at the sort of pre-Giuliani cleanup New York.
Totally,
of like the 1970s.
Yeah.
And I feel like their work has sort of remained in that 70s, 80s version of New York. They found a way to find that in a contemporary New York.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as such, I think in terms of an immersive movie-going experience, it's one of the top films of the year.
I would definitely agree too, and I would say it's also a pretty terrific showcase for Sandler. Okay, folks, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.